Hey everyone, welcome back to Paper Therapy with Amy. I am so glad you stopped by today. I'm going to create a layout with these papers here. If you haven't seen them yet, this is Nests of Nature. That's what it's called. And my papers are all a little warped, and that is because when I ordered Nests of Nature, I also ordered this stamp chamois, and it's for cleaning your stamps off. And I took it out of the packaging and it didn't feel wet, but it was soft. And so I laid it on top of my papers and I went to bed, and when I came back in the morning, my papers were all damp because apparently they come damp. So anyways, it's wet now. This is wet. And when it's wet, it's soft, and then it gets hard when it's dry. So little tip for you, do not put your stamp chamois when it's brand new on your papers. Anyways, I'm hoping when I glue them down, it won't be that noticeable. Here are my photos. As you can see, it's the perfect photos for Nests of Nature with the birds. And I gave you a little hint with this one of where I'm going with this bit of red trim around it. So it's when my brother-in-law and my sister came to visit, and we went out to this bird sanctuary that is free to visit, and we walked around there, and it was kind of rainy and stormy, as you can see in this picture, and it was just a fun day, and I thought it was the perfect paper to document the day. So I'm thinking one of the papers I'd like to use is this one, because I really like how it has that bit of a scene on it, and I'm wondering if I can sort of just fit our pictures right into this scene somehow. So I think I'm gonna cover the whole background to leave a frame around the edge. So do the frame style layout without cutting a separate full piece of paper, but cutting it in pieces. So with this paper, I tried all of the other papers, like these different ones, which this one would be okay. But I really wanted something rustic like this picture, and there is a wood grain in here. Let's see, it's this one here. It's okay. I just don't love it with this particular layout. I don't know why. It's more of like a drawn wood grain, whereas this is the wood grains that come with the Country Woods are more of a natural wood grain, like they actually look realistic. So I'm just gonna show you how I decided to work this out. So I kind of know where I'm going with this layout because I've been working on it before I started recording. So, all right, something like that. And then we're gonna do the same thing across this side. Let's maybe put that one up there, these ones down here. Not sure, maybe the other way, like this. And then I have this little one here of my brother-in-law and my sister. So I think I want to have some pieces coming across this way, some smaller pieces. And I tried this one out from the Country Woods as well, and I really like how it brings out some blue in the layout. I just thought, and there's a blue birdhouse in here, so it just kind of works. And I like the idea of having it bump right off the layout here. So thinking like that, and maybe I can tuck this picture right in here to kind of not cover up so much of the background. Possibly something like this. And I can strategically cut this one. Like if I want to cut the red bird off, I could, although the red really brings the red in from my layout, but then I could cut this one differently, cut the red bird off on this side so that it doesn't look so repetitive. Although I guess this guy's on there either way. And I thought maybe this is like a little birdie tracks that's on the back of this one. So that's the piece from in between. And I'm thinking I'm gonna put that one here. So let's try that. So I'm putting this over here, even though it's in the center. Just imagine I've bumped that back sheet over. I like to see it as one layout together for now. And then once I'm gluing it down, sometimes I'll use the measurements on here. So I was thinking maybe to put this piece. And then once I had that there, I felt like it should continue across. So let's put a little more of it over on this side. And let's ink this actually. I inked this one and I like it a lot. Let's go something like that. And I want these to come out, and I might flag those. I'm not sure yet, like dovetail them. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go under or over with the blue, probably over, I think. So that means on this side as well. There we go, something like that. Something like that. Now, I feel like this side maybe needs a little bit of red. So maybe we can add red. These should come up or down, up, and possibly some red up here. And so what I did to this red is I sanded it back a little bit, and I used the back side because I really wanted it to not be too overwhelming. So maybe something like that. And then I think I need one more color for a matte, and I was trying to decide what to add in here, and I think there is some softer, I really want to soften that red, and there is some softer pinks in here, especially in these little plants and stuff. So I did have a little bit of an older close to my heart color. I think it's called Blush. I'm not sure. Bashful maybe? It might be Bashful. So I was thinking I'll just tuck this right in there. And so it just kind of peeks out from underneath there, and possibly just bring it up a little bit more. Wondering if I can put this one under everything here and just kind of have it something like that. Tuck this up under here and then put that there, and do the same on this side. Just have that. I'm just going to speed this section up a little bit for you and show you how I kind of go about my process of how I make decisions. So that red was feeling like a bit too much and a bit too far to the center for me. I don't know, I just didn't like something about it. And so I was trying these pink pieces, both up kind of tucked under my line there, and it felt too repetitive to me, but I was still kind of considering how I was going to do things. And I did eventually decide that I might need a full-sized mat underneath here. So I'm going to bring in a bigger piece of pink paper, and I'm just kind of considering whether I could mat that whole section on pink paper, and that might look good. So I do that, but I don't mat the whole right side. I end up just having the paper come around that one photo on the right side and then just tacking the other photos onto it. So I really did like how that turned out. And here you can see how I sand back. I put I punch out a circle of a sanding disc and I glue it to my little tool there. And then I sand back that little piece of red paper. I do end up removing the white mat, just cutting it off. It was part of my picture, and just adding a red mat to this photo here. And I do like that a lot. It just brings that red over to the right-hand side, and I'll have some red in my embellishments too. You can really see this layout starting to take shape. I did decide to dovetail these little pieces because I want them to stick past the frame of the layout. So I dovetailed all of them and cut them down because obviously if they're tucked behind that pink paper, I didn't need that whole piece. And I added those to each side, and it kind of gives you the continuation of looking across the page. So I really like how that turned out. I really like how this pink looks in this layout. I find that I'm not a pink person at all. I had all boys, as many of you know, but I do think that this color, I think it is Bashful, and I think it really brings out the skin tone in Caucasian people. So I really like it in winter layouts as well, because you usually have rosy-cheeked kids, or if you're in Canada anyway, and you have cooler or cold winters. I find that it really just brings out people's faces and people's skin, and that's what you want to draw attention to in pictures, right? Is the people, the subjects. There definitely was a little bit of struggling with this picture of my brother-in-law and sister and where to put it, but I do find a home for it eventually. I just kind of leave it out until I've got my embellishments in, and then it kind of rests better once I have those in. I dug into my Close to My Heart stash and found this little scalloped die and cut a piece to go on each side. It's about a 6-inch die and it has a background too, but I decided to just go with these eyelets to make it look a little bit lighter. And I sanded that down a little bit too because it's the same ruby red and I really wanted to just take a little bit of the edge off the redness. I just wanted this layout to be rustic, kind of like that birdhouse wall. And I'm just sanding on top of one of my older cutting plates from my Big Shot, so just not to ruin my scrapbook layout or any of my surfaces. One of the papers in Nests of Nature has birds that are a little bit bigger than the birds on this paper in the background here, and a little bit smaller than the main papers that have the dies to cut them out. And I have chosen to use that size of birds. And so I cut one of each bird. I think there's 4 different ones, and then the pattern repeats. I've cut one of each bird out. There's a little bit of leaves and red berries around them, and they're quite easy to trim out. So I just kind of took my time and trimmed around them, leaving a little bit of an edge. And then I dug into my stash and found some thin cuts of little sprigs. And I cut out sprigs from leaves, from, I think that's juniper paper, an old color from Close to My Heart. I cut out some pine, sorry, I have to remember all these colors. And then I'm trying to learn the Stampin' Up colors too at the same time. So I cut out some sprigs of pine from pine branches, pine color and pine branches. And then I cut out a few little sprigs with little kind of pink berries on there. All of the birds I popped up on dimensions, and I made those leaves kind of poke out from underneath the bird so he has a place to sit. Each of my embellishment clusters are pretty well the same, just with the arrangement being a little bit different, but it contains the same things, but I've used a different bird on each one. I may have repeated a bird once. No, I don't think I did. I think I used the 4 different birds. And I faced them into the layout if possible. The one that's flying isn't faced in, but I kind of thought he's flying by the birdhouses there, so it seemed appropriate to me. I think maybe he's making a nest for his babies. Anyways, I don't have a ton to say about this layout, but I did want to document, that my sister came to visit and that we went to visit the bird sanctuary. My sister actually has a bit of a bird phobia. She's had some weird things happen to her with birds. I don't really blame her. So it was kind of fun to take her here and be like, are you freaked out? But really the birds are there's just a lot of birdhouses and they have a little place inside where you can check out the different birds that they have there. And they have some nests, some old nests and things like that. And I think they have a few taxidermy birds and a little gift shop, but really there's no really up close birds unless you would just sit quietly and have binoculars and watch. So I created these 3 journaling lines out of that bashful paper. I just thought bashful looked nicer than white, and it just kind of brings that color again down to that bottom corner where there really wasn't much of it. And I just glued them down kind of staggered, and I'm going to write my little journaling on there. And I really like how that turned out as well. That corner really was eluding me how I was going to do it. But once I got the embellishments going there, it just kind of came together. Of course, in true paper therapy with Amy fashion, I inked a lot on this page. So all the papers that I didn't sand have been inked. And I even inked my leaves to give them some dimension. Sometimes I just find that faster than getting out the blending brushes, and they're such little leaves that they will rip if you try and blend them too much. I know some people have a surface where things stick to it, and that's kind of nice for blending. But I decided to just kind of take some of that charcoal ink and rub it onto the edges of the leaves here and there to give them some dimension and some definition at the edge. This was really one of those layouts where I had this vision in my mind and I had seen a sketch on Pinterest and I thought that that's how the layout was going to turn out, but it didn't at all. It turned out completely different because that just didn't work and I had to just go where the layout led me. So don't be afraid to just, throw your plans to the side and try something different if it's not working the way you had hoped. You may have noticed that this layout is missing a title. I did get my head completely in the way when I stamped the title right onto the background, so you'll see it right away in the finished product close up. So you can see my title stamped there on the background, and you can see a few dots have been added here and there. I just went through my stash and found some different ones that matched the layout. I also added a little kind of file tab to the top here with the date and sanded it down a little bit. And that is kind of it for this layout. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I'd love it if you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Thanks so much for watching and spending time with me, and I'll catch you all next time here on YouTube. Bye.